Hey everybody, I'm Janice. I'm the Education Coordinator for the Volcan Mountain Foundation. I am here today at VMF'S Nature Center, and today I want to talk to you about wildcrafting. And we're going to give you 10 best practices for foraging wild edible plants. So let's get to it. So number one, where do you go to collect? Well, I always say the best place is to just go into your backyard. You know, a lot of the time, some of those wild edibles might be right in your own backyard and you don't even realize it. And you would know that once you start to learn some of these plants. But, you know, go into your neighborhood. But if you can't do that and you don't have an opportunity to collect there, then head out, go to national forests. They are a place where usually you can collect, but there's some where you might not be able to. Sometimes you need a permit in order to collect, and there might be a limit on how much. So just check with them on what their specific guidelines are. Number two, where not to collect. Well, anywhere you see this sign, if you see a no trespassing sign, that usually means it's private property, and you should get permission before you go on to someone else's property. Other places not to collect would be in parks, nature preserves, and wilderness areas. Another thing to remember when you're out foraging for wild plants is to stay away from polluted areas, and also just to take care of the land. You know, if you see trash, it's always good to carry a backpack with you and have a separate bag that you can put that trash in. Also, keep in mind that even though some plants may look nice, if they're right on a roadside like this, it's best not to collect here because cars going by can leave exhaust that gets on the leaves, gets into the soil, and it can be brought up through the plant's roots. And I wouldn't want to collect in this kind of area. So look for healthy environments when you go out collecting. Number three. I'm sitting here in this beautiful patch of woodland strawberries, and right now they are just ripening, and I would love to eat every single last one of these and pick every single last one, but then I wouldn't be leaving any for the animals. You know, the wildlife eats them too, so I want to leave some for the birds and the bees. Here's a beautiful red one that's really ripe right now. Isn't that beautiful? I'm going to eat this one. So good. And by the way, number 4, never ever pick endangered species. Number 5, get to know your edible plant. If you're just getting started, I always recommend that you just focus on 1 to 2 plants at a time. This way, you will feel 100% confident when you go out in the field to identify something and you'll say, wow, that is the plant. You know that plant just as much as you would know that a carrot is a carrot. So, one way to get started is to follow its life cycle. Watch the plant through a whole year. Watch it in every season because it's going to look completely different. And then learn about what parts are edible, what parts might not be edible or toxic, what time of year you should harvest it. These are all things that you'll need to learn as you really get into edible plants. I recommend getting some good reference books. There are some wonderful plant books and guides out there. The more regional it is, the better, because that way it's going to narrow down a lot of the plants to your specific area. And then you probably feel a little more confident. And find one that has pictures. That's always really important. There's pictures, there's drawings, there's videos out there that you can watch. Go out with a friend. I think that is probably the best, is to go out with someone who knows what they're already talking about. Maybe take a workshop. Another way is just right on your phone, you could get iNaturalist, and this is a wonderful app because you just simply have to take a picture of the plant and it will identify the species for you. So these are all ways that you can feel 100% confident that you are identifying the right plant. Number 6, get to know the poisonous plants that live in your area. If you're out looking for edibles, one thing you don't want to do is accidentally collect a poisonous plant. There are quite a few poisonous plants in the world, and I think it's most important if you're familiar with those that live particularly right in your area. A lot of people tell stories about plants, and these can become myths that are not necessarily true. This is poison oak, and I have heard many times people tell me that you can eat a small amount of this plant and it will build your immunity to it. And I just say, don't do it. This plant has an oil on it that, if it touches your skin, can give you blisters, itching, and a really bad rash. And if you were to consume this plant, it could make you really sick. So you need to learn what they look like. Best way to do that is to find a book. Here's one that tells a lot about different poisonous plants. And it has wonderful illustrations that are color drawings, and that will help you identify them. And just learn the ones that are in your area, and it'll give you a way to get started and be safe. Number 7, when you are out looking for edible plants, be really aware of safety and your surroundings, because if you find an edible plant and you're really excited, there's a tendency to just grab it and go after it, but you could be getting some poison oak in there, and you don't want that. There's also rattlesnakes around here, and you don't want to touch one of those. There's even bigger snakes. I've heard about those too. It's like, what's this? Number 8, when it's time to head out and collect plants, it's good to go out prepared with the right tools. I always bring a good pair of gloves, some cutting tool, and also collection bags. Now you should probably carry a collection bag for each kind of plant, and that's because you don't want to cross-contaminate with things like stinging nettle mixed in with maybe something as innocent as cleavers. So when you do go out and you start to cut some of this is where the gloves come in handy. And I'm just going to collect the very tip of this and add it to my bag. Now I've got some more behind me, so I'll collect a few more. Number 9, let's talk about eating the plant. When I first got interested in wildcrafting, I wanted to make elderberry syrup. And there was so much that I had to learn just to do that, but it taught me so much. First of all, I had to go out and find an elderberry tree, and I did this. Here's one right here. And then I learned that in order to make the syrup, there were certain parts of the plant that were toxic, like the leaves and the bark, while other parts were edible. But they're not edible until you cook them. They have to be heated up, like the flowers and the berries. And the berries have to be ripe in order to cook them. So those little types of things are really important to learn when you're doing this for the very first time. And also just keep in mind that you might be allergic to something that you've never eaten before. So give it a try, and then just take it slow. And the whole point is just to have fun. Enjoy the whole process, find some great recipes, and go out foraging. And last but not least, the best part of foraging for wild plants is getting outside and connecting with nature.